December arrives with lights, music, and an atmosphere that seems to wrap itself around everything. But behind that bright appearance, there is something almost no one notices. A message that for centuries has been trying to break through decorations, traditions, and routine, and that millions still ignore every year. Because Advent is not what most people think. It was not born as a tender celebration, nor as a sweet reminder of an ancient story. Advent is a spiritual alarm, a message that unsettles, a warning for distracted hearts, a voice that returns every December to ask the questions many don't want to face. And in a world accustomed to comfort, hurry, and superficiality, that prophetic message is being lost, even among those who believe they're celebrating it correctly. This is the secret that time has covered with layers of tradition, a secret that doesn't seek to entertain, but to awaken. A secret that reminds us of something few want to hear, that light doesn't come to decorate, it comes to reveal. From its origin, Advent is the tension between darkness and dawn, between waiting and preparing, between a promise and a fulfillment that demands vigilant hearts. It is not a spiritual ornament, it is a divine warning. And every time December returns, that message sounds again. Its question echoes again. Its challenge rises again. But while millions light candles without understanding their meaning, a transcendent truth remains silent. The light that comes not only illuminates, it exposes. That is why true Advent is uncomfortable. Not because it is negative, but because it is profoundly real. Because it reminds us that light does not ask whether you are ready before it breaks in. Because it reminds us that just as the first coming of Christ surprised a distracted world, the second will also find many asleep. Scripture describes a people who walked in darkness until a light shone upon them. That passage announces the birth of the Messiah, but it also reveals the state of the human heart. Beings who move, who live, who breathe, yet do not see. People who have confused movement with direction, rhythm with purpose, external lights with internal clarity. Advent points to this. It points to the darkness that is ignored. It points to the spiritual sleep that becomes normal. It points to the human tendency to repeat rituals without letting truth penetrate life. Advent is not tradition, it is diagnosis. Many decorate their homes, but do not examine their hearts. Many light candles, but keep internal rooms dark. Many sing songs, while silently battling fears, insecurities, and shadows they refuse to face. And December passes, and nothing changes. Because light does not transform those who merely observe it, but those who expose themselves to it. Here is the prophetic message that millions ignore. Advent is not only the memory of what God has done, it is the anticipation of what He is about to do. It is a time that points forward, a reminder that the spiritual world is still moving, that the story is not closed, that heaven continues drawing near. Advent announces that God is approaching, and when God approaches, everything is exposed. The first coming was unexpected. It disoriented an empire, religious leaders, and an entire people. It did not arrive in palaces, but in a stable. It did not come surrounded by honor, but by silence. It did not present itself with visible power, but with vulnerability. And even so, it changed history. And that pattern never changed. God continues breaking in where no one is looking. He continues shattering silences that seemed eternal. He continues illuminating places humanity prefers to keep hidden. In fact, before Jesus was born, humanity endured 400 years of silence. 4 centuries in which heaven did not speak through prophets. 400 years in which the people continued celebrating traditions. But their spirit was tired, faded, asleep, until light broke in an unexpected place, at a moment no one anticipated, in a scene so simple that only the watchful could understand it. That is the message of Advent. Light arrives without asking permission. It arrives without announcing a date. It arrives without checking the calendar. It simply arrives. And when it does, it separates truth from appearance. That is why this season is not passive. It is not nostalgia. It is not Christmas atmosphere. Advent is preparation. It is vigilance. It is internal discipline. It is examination of the soul. It is remembering that life is not meant to be lived asleep. It is recognizing that God moves even when He seems silent. And this question echoes this December louder than in previous years. How many inner areas are still asleep? What parts of the heart need to awaken? What wounds remain hidden behind routine? What spiritual battles have been ignored for far too long? Advent does not ask the human being to look outward. It asks him to look inward, to observe his shadows with honesty, to recognize what still needs light, to understand that the coming of Christ, past, present, and future, demands a heart that is attentive, sensitive, awake. Many celebrate this season as a pleasant memory, but ignore that it is also a spiritual warning. The warning that God can break in at any moment, that His presence does not wait for convenience, that His light can pierce through any structure humans build to feel safe. The words of Jesus resound powerfully. Watch, for you do not know the day or the hour. That sentence was not spoken to create fear, but urgency. Urgency to live awake. Urgency to not fall into spiritual comfort. Urgency to avoid repeating the mistake of generations who celebrated the correct tradition, while ignoring the presence standing before them. Every December, the story repeats. Multitudes celebrate the arrival of Christ without recognizing His voice. Multitudes light lights without letting the light transform them. Multitudes speak of peace while their inner world wages war. Multitudes celebrate birth while their hearts remain unborn. The prophetic message of Advent is this: the light is coming, and every heart must decide whether it truly wants to receive it. Because light does not only reveal what is beautiful, it also uncovers what is hidden. It doesn't only bring comfort, it also brings confrontation. It doesn't only heal, it also exposes. And that exposure is what many prefer to avoid, even while celebrating this season. But Advent cannot be domesticated. It cannot be reduced to an empty symbol. It cannot be reduced to a pretty ritual. Advent is a divine break-in into human history. The reminder that God always moves toward darkness to break it. That He always approaches what is asleep to awaken it. That He always shines where humanity is blind without knowing. This December, that same light draws near again, and before it arrives, it casts a gaze that breaks through the surface, a gaze that reaches the fears never spoken, the wounds never touched, the sins kept in secret, the doubts too shameful to confess. Light does not come to condemn, it comes to transform, but it only transforms what is exposed. That is why this Advent is a deep call. Awaken. Shake off spiritual sleep. Examine the heart. Recognize that life is not sustained by appearance, but by truth. Understand that God continues drawing near, and that every coming is an invitation to change. A watchful heart is not a perfect heart. It is an honest heart, a willing heart, a heart that recognizes its need, a heart that does not flee from the light, but waits for it. The light that comes does not enter closed spaces. It enters open hearts. This Advent announces something. Not something small, not something symbolic, not something decorative. It announces that God is moving, that something is about to awaken, that something is about to break the silence, that something is about to illuminate places time could not heal, that something is drawing near, not to frighten, but to transform. Many will pass through December without noticing it. They will continue on autopilot. They will repeat the same things as every year. They will end the month without having looked within, without having prepared their heart, without recognizing the urgency of this time, without understanding that the light was closer than they imagined. But this message comes for those who can still hear, for those who do not want a superficial Advent, for those who understand that this season was not created to decorate, but to awaken, for those who know that life cannot continue the same when light approaches. Advent announces something the modern world has forgotten. The arrival of God changes everything. It changes plans, dismantles masks, exposes intentions, redirects paths. It is not a sweet memory. It is an invitation to inner rebirth. And so, this December raises the same question that echoed centuries ago. Are you prepared? Not prepared for a party, not prepared for decorations, not prepared for a tradition, prepared for a divine intrusion into your life, prepared for the light that enters without permission, for the truth that cuts through what no one else sees, for the calling that cannot be postponed. True Advent is not celebrated with lights, but with vigilance, not with carols, but with surrender, not with nostalgia, but with transformation. This is the message millions ignore every December. Advent is not a tradition. It is a warning. It is an awakening. It is a sacred preparation for the arrival of the light. And when that light comes, because it will, may it find a heart awake, not asleep. A heart available, not distracted. A heart prepared, not hardened. May this Advent mark a before and after, because the light is already approaching. And when it comes, nothing will remain the same.